Well, we have Salem was a town where people came and went.
Yeah, the port town, crossroads of the empires.
We got some new people. We have some friendly faces. Stuart Halligan as a doctor without borders trying to help the citizens of Salem who are being killed by a plague. And then we have a very bad person going to jail.
Yeah, it's bad.
Well, not in her eyes.
Really bad, yeah. Lucy Lomas. The Countess Marburg, at minimum hundreds, if not thousands of years old, possibly the very first witch of all, former lover of Lucifer himself. He's attempted and failed many times in the past to achieve the grand rite, who finds to her surprise that this upstart Mary Sibley has managed it in Salem. She wants in.
She really wants to be the one that starts like free witch country in America and claim it as her own.
And it goes, clearly for her it's personal. It goes way back, and she realizes that this Mary Sibley doesn't even really quite understand what she's doing. She doesn't even realize the depth of what she's unleashing. She's going to take it into.
There'll be witch war.
And we should mention her son, Sebastian.
Played by Joe Doyle.
An amazing young British actor.
He's going to be a huge star.
Fantastic, and they have a very twisted, interesting mother-son relationship that she's probably never seen before, and they bring a very strange, sexy, scary element.
Mary's son, played by Oliver Bell, is also going to be a big part of the show this year.
How much research did you do into the actual witch trials? Because there was a lot within the historical events related to the autonomy of women, and then there's a lot of commentary on that same issue within the main arcs and the plots of the show itself.
Well, there's no doubt that the inspiration comes directly from that. It's not in any way. As Brannon, I'm going to quote Brannon, we're not the history channel. We're not there to tell you here's what happened, but to create a kind of new mythology based out of our history. All great mythology comes from history. King Arthur, is it real or not? Odysseus, Achilles, Sid, whoever. But for Americans, why not actually reclaim this episode that way? And at the same time, almost every character you will encounter on the show was a real person. Now, we may have taken them in directions that they never went before, but some of the hints were there. In fact, if anything, the very, very origins were reading in the archives, the first time they'd published some of the transcripts that had never been published before of the trials, and coming upon this odd story that people were always half familiar with, that this servant/slave, Tituba, had gotten in trouble for serving this thing called a witch cake to try to cure some of the possessed kids, and then it had turned out that she didn't actually have the recipe. She had been given the recipe by a good Puritan woman named Mary Sibley. But this Mary Sibley had never been punished or questioned for this. And that got us thinking, well, maybe she's one of them. Maybe the witches were standing there all along right behind this Puritan Messiah.
Then how do you handle some of the more, let's say, sensitive or touchy issues related to, let's say, religion versus secularism and like some of the stuff with race, with the Native Americans? Because that can be a very divisive plot issue to address in media content.
We're not the show. We don't consciously set out to make any kind of social commentary. Religion is treated as it was in the day. People believed in God, they believed in the devil, and they believed in witchcraft. Everyone did. Virtually everyone. And if you go, if anything, we've tried to put the viewer into the mindset of that time. So you take from it, but there are a lot of social undercurrents involving oppression and female empowerment, and we hope that people will take what they will from the show.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. I mean, Brannon says absolutely right that we set out from the get-go not to do history from the outside, but from the inside. You could literally capture the mindset, and like Brannon says, everybody believed in witchcraft. Even the people who thought the witch trials were wrong, they didn't think it was wrong because they didn't think witches existed. They just didn't think they got the right people. So it was about exploring a world like that. Now, obviously, all the issues that are still with us to this day, race, sex, and gender, religion, they are in the DNA of this country, and that's one of the things we get to do is to explore that, as Brannon says, not to say let's make a hidden message about 2015 or about the 21st century, but in fact to go back to these origin moments and show how it's always been this way. It's always been fun about that.
At the end of last season, John was presumed dead, and he's clearly very much alive still, which is great. Can you talk a little bit about his journey this season?
He's on a very different trajectory. He's brought back to life by an Indian tribe who arm him with some supernatural weapons of sorts, and he's on a trajectory to, as a broken-hearted man who died. Part of him died when Mary abandoned him. Again, he abandoned her, she abandoned him. He's on a mission to kill her, which is improbably her.
And he's much more invisible this time.
Yeah, he's lurking in the shadows. He returns to Salem, and he's kind of, we call it in the...
It's like a Monte Cristo.
Kind of Monte Cristo.
Batman, you know, the shadows. And one of these dark avenging
But
figures.
he has a very dark agenda.
Can you talk a little bit about Mary and Mercy? Their relationship is great, and I've seen the season premiere, which I really enjoyed. And can you talk about what we're going to see between those two specifically?
Well, this year was the theme of, there were some strong paternal themes last year. This year it's maternal, and it's about mothers and daughters.
Yeah, we say it sometimes. It's the season of the dark mothers.
And Mary is a mother figure to Mercy. Marburg's kind of a mother figure too. She might play into that, but let's just say this, it's a highly dysfunctional, horrifying mother-daughter relationship with Mary.
It spreads around.
Being that Seth couldn't make it today, could you tease a little bit as to what sort of journey his character will be on, after the loss of his lover and his father?
Yeah, well, look, at the end of we ended last season with Cotton Mather having murdered his own father, thinking he was saving Mary Sibley's life, but thinking because his father had gone mad, not realizing he had been manipulated by the ultimate witch. And yes, he had lost Gloriana, the prostitute with the heart of gold and the love of his life in many ways. He's on a huge journey this year. He starts, I think, a completely shattered, broken man, forbidden to return to Salem.
Living in Boston,
but who is drawn back by Anne Hale. And I would just say those two characters have an incredible journey. Anne Hale, who always seemed the purest and simplest in some ways of the girls in here, I didn't want to hint to where she's going, but she has a huge arc, and along the way, they have a love story that in its own way is every bit as epic and as strange and as star-crossed as John and Alice.
Great.
Good film. Man, you make it sound good.